I keep hearing about the excuse of they told me to get a belt when it comes to Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. Let's talk.
Straighter, not a roundhouse right hand.
And that's what we've been talking about. The straight shot is the one where he gets leverage on it.
I don't want to kill
Pull
somebody
back
for
a
a
little
few
bit.
seconds.
Nah, I want a body on my record.
Now, I want to see you fight motherfuckers. I do. All right, I'm with you. I'm with you. As long as you're trying to fight the great, the best competition.
Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Yo, it's the best, fight the best. If you ain't with the moto, just click the link, bitch, and get buried like the rest. It ain't gonna work how you want it. These trolls already tried, too many come but don't leave. So if you hear, you gotta die. I'm spitting straight facts. These bitches crying cause they hate that. The LDBC's the top topic, bitch, hate that. We the ones that bring the truth to these fans. So while you hate, I'ma laugh and keep counting these bands. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you. Welcome to the graveyard. Click the link if you dare to. Bury you alive, I'm prepared to. Welcome to the graveyard. You get your sources from clowns, so when you come around, we don't hear you.
Welcome to the graveyard.
So, when Terrence Budrick Crawford came to the welterweight division, he used the excuse of, they told me to get a belt. That's the excuse the man used on why everybody was ducking him, because they told me to get a belt. And people literally ran with that. Oh, man, that's crazy, bro. Oh, shit, I can't believe that. That shit crazy, man. So, did Green Beans have to get a belt before he fought Terrence Crawford? Did Sean Porter have to go and get a belt before he fought Terrence Crawford? Is Alex Roach, does that man have to go get a belt before he fights Terrence Crawford? The answer is no. It's the answer, no. The reason why they don't have to get a belt is because they were mandatories. Keyword, mandatories. Meaning, you will fight or you will vacate. There's your options. Fight, vacate, or get stripped. You got A, B, or C. So when you guys keep running with this goofy ass statement, oh man, they told me to get a belt. I sit here and I listen and I'm like, wait a minute. So does Terrence Crawford work for Keith Thurman? Is he a puppet, a beta, how y'all say? Is he a beta male? Is he a puppet for Errol Spence? So it's just do what they say. First off, Errol didn't tell him to get a belt. Errol said, you're irrelevant to me. That's what Errol said. Errol said, if you don't have a belt, you're irrelevant. Errol said, I want to fight the champions on my side and collect all these belts. And then whoever has the belt over there, that's who I'm fighting. Meaning, if Jeff Horn still had the belt, Errol Spence would be going after Jeff Horn right now. That's what he would be doing. He'd be going after Jeff Horn right now. Because he would have accomplished his mission of 3 belts from the PBC side, the easy side, and then going to get the other belt across the street with Jeff Horn. It's not saying Jeff Horn's a hard fight. No, it is easier to negotiate in-house fights. That's what he was saying. Clearly what he was saying. Just like Bomac said, it's easier to go to WBO route because Jeff Horn was a WBO champion and he was a top-ranked fighter. Whole nother video. But the bottom line is, I'm very tired of this excuse that you guys keep giving me over and over and over again. Oh man, they told him to get a belt. They told him. Well, if the motherfucker is listening to what these motherfuckers is telling him to do, then didn't they tell him to sign a contract? Why didn't he sign it? Oh man, they told him. Well, they gave him a contract, and he told the world that he accepted or agreed to all the terms. So if you're listening to go get a belt before you fight Keith Thurman, become his mandatory, if you could. Well, you could have, his WBC, because he had the WBA and WBC. So, you could have became the mandatory. Or if you're listening to Errol Spence and Al Heyman to go get a belt, which he didn't say, but to go get a belt before why didn't you get the IBF belt? You could have just became both of their mandatories. You could have became the mandatory for the WBC, which at the time was vacant, which means you would have fought Danny Garcia. But Keith Thurman fought Danny Garcia, unified those belts, so you could have became the mandatory for the unified winner. Why didn't you? Why is Terrence Crawford been sitting back talking about how everybody's scared of him and everybody's ducking him and nobody wants to fight him, but yet you could have been the mandatory for all of these guys? Didn't he try to become the mandatory for the WBC after becoming a champion? Didn't he try to become the mandatory for the IBF after becoming a champion? Didn't he throw away his right for that mandatory spot moving up from 140? He threw that away. He did that. You guys cannot even explain this. You just keep giving me some stupid ass excuses over and over again. Oh man, well, listen, bro, those guys were scared of him. Al Heyman wasn't going to allow. Who cares what Al Heyman was going to allow? Let me explain something. When Terrence Crawford moved up from 140 to 147, if he would have became the IBF, the WBC mandatory, right, to Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, or Errol Spence, and Al Heyman was holding something up, well, Terrence Crawford would have fought somebody else for the vacant IBF WBC belt. And then he would have fought Jeff Horn and unified. That's what would have happened. He would have been a unified champion at 147. Yeah, he would have forced. Y'all keep saying Al Heyman holding up. Errol Spence didn't want it. Keith Thurman didn't want it. Why are you giving him an option? Hence the keyword mandatory. You have no option. That's what mandatory means. Mandatory means you must do this. You must. Oh no, BF, come on, BF. No, he can only go to the WBO. He couldn't go nowhere. Oh yeah, well, why did Vasyl Lomachenko do differently? Vasyl Lomachenko, the WBO champion at 130, moved up and fought the WBA champion. Facts. Yeah, that's what happened. So I don't understand what we talking about. Yes, it can be done. Yes. It can be done. It could have been done. He should have did it. If you're saying you got problems, you got issues, you got, this and that with Al Heyman, and you can't work with Al Heyman, you can't deal with Al Heyman this, Al Heyman that, well then you get on your Godfather shit. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. Yeah, it's called mandatory. That's what it's called. Mandatory. Yeah, that's what that is. Mandatory. You're mandatory. I am now your IBF mandatory. I am your WBC mandatory. I am moving up, exercising my right to become your mandatory. The exact same way Vasyl Lomachenko did, moving up from 130 as the WBO champion to fight for the WBA strap. So yes, can be done. Yes, absolutely, yes. He had an opportunity, and he threw it away and fought an in-house fight because it was the easy route. That's why. That's what Bomac told me personally. It was the easy route. I'm fighting this in-house fight because it's the easy route to take. But nobody talks about Bomac saying that they went the easy route. But everybody talks about Errol Spence saying he went the easy route. The difference is there was 3 belts in Errol Spence's easy route. There was 1 belt in Terrence Crawford's easy route. Now, if you want to say he was scared. He was talking about competition. He was talking about fighting. Okay. Well, then Terrence Crawford went the ultra easy route. If Errol Spence went the easy route because of the weak competition, then Terrence Crawford went the ultra easy route because he could have became Errol Spence's mandatory. He became the number 1 contender and mandatory challenger for the WBC title, which would have forced Danny Garcia to fight him. Yeah, so he could have stopped Danny Garcia, which wouldn't have happened, but whatever. He could have stopped Danny Garcia and became the WBC champion and then took that belt back to Top Rank and unified with motherfucking Jeff Horn. That's what he could have did. He could have took one of those belts. So the route for Errol Spence to collect all the belts on one side of the street would have been a lot faster because Terrence Crawford would have did some of the heavy lifting. There would have only been 1 belt for Errol to get from 2017 or 16 until whenever they fought. There would have been 1 belt for him to get. 1. The WBA. That's it. So the full court press would have been on Errol to fight Keith Thurman. And if Keith Thurman wasn't there, then there is nobody on that side of the street for Errol to fight. The guy for him to fight is the guy with 2 belts. The WBC belt and the WBO belt, Terrence Budrick Crawford. That's would have been the fight. That one. If Keith Thurman was on his hiatus, it's a get back here and blah, 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 then the only fight would have been that one. It's the only fight. But again, y'all put all the blame on Errol Spence for doing all of the heavy lifting, collecting all the belts. All the blame is on him. When everybody knew what Errol Spence was doing since 2017 and nobody tried to help him. No one. No one said, all right, so if you're doing a heavy lifting, what we'll do? I'll collect another belt. I'll do that. I'll collect another one. Let's shorten this road. Let's shorten this road. He didn't try to do anything. Oh yeah, he tried BFTB. He tried. Did he try to fight Ugas? Absolutely not. Ugas called this man out on Twitter. He said nothing. Let Errol Spence say something on Twitter. This dude to be all up in his shit. Ugas called him out on Twitter. He said nothing. Still said nothing. To this day, said nothing. Still nothing. He could have been fought Ugas. Ugas told the world, where I beat you in the amateurs and I'll beat you in the pros. Let's fight. Showed him that the score and everything, 27-10, I beat you. This man said nothing. But y'all just skate right past that. The WBA champion, y'all just skate right on past that. When Sean Porter got the belt, he could have unified with Sean Porter. He chose not to. Well, we're friends. I got no desire to fight Sean. Then you fight him later on for no belt when he was your mandatory. Oh, Sean Porter didn't want to fight him. He didn't want to fight him. But he was his mandatory. And they fought, right? Because Terrence Crawford don't duck no mandatories, right? Okay, so how about you become the mandatory for the WBC or the IBF? You could have did that. But instead, you chose the WBO route. So when I hear you guys keep telling me about, oh, they told him to get a belt, they told him, they told him, all I hear you guys telling me is a fucking excuse on why he ducked. Because Keith Thurman and Errol Spence gave him a route to take to duck, and he took it. And again, Errol did not tell him to get a belt. Errol told him he's irrelevant without one. Keith Thurman told him to get a belt. There is a difference. All right? There is a difference. Keith Thurman said, I'm not fighting him if he don't have nothing to offer. Errol Spence didn't say, I'm not fighting you. He said, you're irrelevant without a belt. He never said, I'm not fighting you. Errol Spence has fought fighters with no belts. Lamont Peterson, for example. He's fought fighters with no belts. Although Lamont Peterson is a top contender, and where he was at that time, but he still fought fighters with no belts. He still did it. So this is not a, I'm not going to fight you unless you have a belt. It is, You are irrelevant without one. Make yourself relevant. Or take the B-side bread to fight me. There, you got options. He did neither one and still is not trying to take B-side bread. Still. So I'm guessing because he was in Creed 3, he did a cameo in Creed 3, that makes him the A-side. Well, Deontay Wilder did a cameo in some things. But I don't remember people saying he's the A-side to Anthony Joshua when that undisputed talk was going on in heavyweight. Don't remember it, but I'm sure y'all will use that for Terrence Crawford. Bottom line is, it doesn't fucking matter that Keith Thurman told him to get a belt. It doesn't fucking matter that Errol Spence told him he's irrelevant without one. Doesn't matter what they say. If you're the fucking mandatory, who cares what the champion is saying? Who cares? He can say whatever he wants, but he's got a couple options. You will fight me, you will vacate, or you will be stripped. There's your options. And Terrence Crawford threw those away. Because they told him something. And like a good little boy, here boy, like a good little boy, he went and did what they told him to do. Like a good little boy. Instead of saying, I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care what you're telling me to do. Yeah, I am going to get a belt. Yours. I am going to do that. I'm moving up from 140. I'm the undisputed champion. I got the pick of the litter of which route that I want to go. I'm going your route. I don't care if you're telling me to get a belt. I'm going to get one. Yours. Preferably Keith Thurman, because Keith Thurman had potentially 2 belts at that time, the WBA and WBC. So, yeah, I'm going to get belts. I'm going to get your belts. So had he did that and became Keith Thurman's mandatory for the WBC strap, right? That would have put the WBC and WBA on the line. Doesn't matter if Keith Thurman told him to get a belt. That's irrelevant. Who can? When does Keith Thurman dictate Terrence Crawford's career? When does Errol Spence dictate Terrence Crawford's career? I thought he was his own boss. I thought he was ran by Bob Arrow and Top Rank. Don't they dictate his career? Wasn't Bomac and those guys dictating his career? When did Keith Thurman and Errol Spence jump into the line and tell this man what to do? When did that happen? I'm confused. I don't remember Errol Spence telling Carlos Ocampo to get a belt before you fight me. Don't remember that. I don't remember that. I don't remember Terrence Crawford telling Keith Thurman telling Josito Lopez, get a belt before you fight me. I don't remember those. Don't remember that. So what does it matter what they say? What matters is what Crawford did, what he does and what he did. And what he did was go a different route when he did not have to. He could have went the WBC route, the WBA route, or the IBF route. Specifically, in this case, the WBC and WBA, because they were both with Keith Thurman, I believe, at that time. They might not have been, but they were still, I believe WBC was vacant when he moved up. It was vacant. And then Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia fought for it. But, again, if he would have moved up, he would have jumped Danny Garcia. So he would have been number 1. So Danny Garcia would have had to fight him. And if Danny Garcia refused to fight him, then Keith Thurman and Budrick could have fought for the vacant WBC and the WBA in a unification. That could have happened. All of those things were in line for him. All of them. You know how Luke Campbell fought for a vacant belt against Vasil Lomachenko, and if Luke Campbell would have won, he would have been a unified champion because Lomachenko had the WBA and WBO strap. So if he would have won, if Luke Campbell, who didn't have no belt, would have won, if he would have beat Lomachenko, he would have been the WBC, WBA, and WBO champion. So the only belt that was left would have been the IBF if Luke Campbell would have won. I love how y'all act like y'all don't know this or remember this. So Terrence Crawford did not have to listen. He could have just said, I don't care what y'all get a belt. I don't care. I don't care. No, I'm not. I'm going to get a belt, yours. But instead, y'all sit back and y'all just blow this shit off and act like, woe is me, Bud. Oh, Bud. Oh, Bud. Woe is me, Bud. No, they told this little boy, you will do this. They little boy him. They little boy Bud. They told little boy Bud, you will do this, and he went and did it. Keith Thurman finessed this man. Told this man, oh, listen, you want to fight me, go get a belt. And he went and got a belt, and then Keith Thurman said, who the fuck is Jeff Horn? You haven't done shit. Errol Spence was still on his path. I'm cleaning up my side of the street. Once I finish my side, I'm going to go get that one, whoever has it. But y'all just take all the heat off of Keith Thurman, who Terrence Crawford was calling out. He was not calling out Errol Spence. You take all the heat off of Thurman, and now you got all the heat on Errol Spence. It just migrated to Errol Spence out of nowhere. Pathetic. Whatever. But I'm pretty sure y'all be in the comments trying to spin this shit, but good luck. BFTB. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And I'm out.